Hello and welcome. Let us begin our exciting Scrum journey. Module number 1, Introduction to Agile Project Management. This is the first module for the PeopleCert Scrum Master I certification training. This module also relates to syllabus item 1 from the official syllabus for the exam. There will be 2 exam questions from this module. We begin with the question, what is Agile? At the bottom we have the book reference from Mark Layton, Agile Project Management for Dummies. This is one of the reference books for the exam. Agile, a project management style focused on the early delivery of business value, continuous improvement, scope flexibility, team input, and delivering well-tested products that reflect customer needs. There are several things highlighted here. It's about early delivery of value, meaning product should be delivered early and frequently and should be usable while product development is still going on. And the product development is based on learning and continuous improvement. The scope should be flexible, meaning requirements might keep changing for the end product eventually. There is also a lot of empowerment of the team. So there is a lot of team input rather than just input from a customer or a planner or a manager. And the products need to be of high quality, though the delivery is frequent and with high value. Unless there is high quality, value will not be realized. Some of the key factors which led to the success of Agile project management are adaptive planning, evolutionary development, empirical knowledge, and continual improvement. Adaptive planning is about plan which changes based on conditions as the project moves forward or as the product development moves forward. So it's a flexible way of planning rather than a fixed planning at the start and delivering everything as per that fixed initial plan. Evolutionary development means the product development evolves based on certain experimentation and realization of what could be improved. Therefore, we also have simultaneously continual improvement. It's about continually learning lessons in a proactive manner and applying them. Empirical knowledge means use of practical experience than just theories and assumptions. For example, estimation is done using practical experience on what actually occurred rather than using an assumption. You will find Agile glossary at this website shown at the bottom here. You will notice that on most of the slides there are some URLs specified. It's a good idea to look into those URLs and study them for deeper learning, while you also have to refer to some of the books which are related to the exam syllabus. We will show you the list of all the books you need to study before you write the exam. We will also show you some of the websites as we progress forward in this course. This is the site for the Agile glossary. You will find a lot of interesting terminology here, such as acceptance test-driven development. Next, we look at the Agile Manifesto. The Agile Manifesto is a brief document which was built on 4 values and 12 principles for Agile software development. This was published in February 2001 and is the work of 17 software development practitioners. Its authors believe software developers should use it to guide their work. You will find the history and the story about the Agile Manifesto at this site. You will see here the names of everyone who was involved in the preparation and the publication of the Agile Manifesto. I would like to highlight again that whatever websites I've been showing you are indicated at the bottom of these slides. Let us take a look at the 4 values of the Agile Manifesto. This is the original website for the Agile Manifesto. And it says here clearly, we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value the following. There are four statements here which are important. Individuals and interactions are valued more than processes and tools. Working software is valued more than comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration is valued more than contract negotiation. And lastly, but not the least, responding to change is valued more than following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. And we have those four sets of values represented on this slide here, which means that there is more importance to individuals and interactions, meaning empowering them, giving them respect, building an environment of trust, as compared to processes and tools, which should not be ignored either. High quality working software is important, while documentation need not be fully ignored. If documentation is a must for compliance, that should be done. But overdoing documentation is less important than having high quality working software. Traditionally, contracts have been had high value, but customer collaboration is more important than just signing contracts. There should be good partnership and understanding between the provider and the customer. And last but not the least, there should be a plan, but rather than sticking to a single plan, there should be response to change, meaning the plan should be flexible and the plan should be iterative. Let us take a brief pause here before we move forward. If you have any questions regarding your preparation for the exam or your access to your e-learning course or anything else, please do email us at info@oneworldtraining.com. The Agile Manifesto is also associated with its 12 principles. Let us take a look at these 12 principles. Number one, customer satisfaction by the early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Note the words satisfaction and early and continuous delivery. Number two, welcome changing requirements even in late development. Agile welcomes change, frequent change. Number three, deliver working software frequently in weeks rather than months. Number four, close daily cooperation between business people and developers. One important thing about being agile is developers have close access to the users, customer representatives, meaning the business people. Number five, projects are built around motivated individuals who should be trusted. Motivation is essential and a trust factor remains key. Number six, face-to-face conversation is the best form of communication, meaning co-location is essential. Even in remote working, there should be mechanisms to be visible to each other as part of a team through online collaboration tools, cameras, example. Taking you back to the website for the Agile Manifesto, if you scroll down, we will see the link for the 12 principles of Agile software. You will find them in various languages. And this is where we have the 12 principles, which I have been highlighting. We covered 6 of the 12. Let us look at the remaining 6 principles. Number 7, working software is the primary measure of progress, meaning it is not the activities which are completed, but the number of functionality or features made available to the customer, which is the key measure of progress. Number 8 is sustainable development, able to maintain a constant pace, meaning it is not about working overtime when things are not progressing fast enough, but it is about maintaining a sustainable pace. Number 9, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. Number 10, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. What that means is it is important to filter out the unnecessary work and focus on the necessary work. Number 11, the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. We're going to look deeper into the concept of self-organizing teams. Just briefly here, what it means is the teams are empowered. Number 12, Regularly, the team reflects on how to become more effective and adjusts accordingly. The main goal of Agile frameworks is to make the development quicker and smoother and to create an output that is more satisfying for the customer. It encourages rapid and flexible response to change. We now look at the characteristics of value, in particular the three characteristics of value. The business objectives for becoming more agile and using agile development practices is ultimately connected to providing more value to the customer as well as the organization. More value means, for example, growing sales, remaining competitive, continual improvements, and continual innovations. Specifically, we want to shorten the overall development and delivery cycle, decrease costs associated with the development, and increase quality. Using agile development practices will deliver on all three value dimensions. Let's look at each one of them. Quality, the functions and requirements of what we do. Cost is often measured against how much the customer is willing to pay. Services need to be affordable to the customer and profitable to the business. Value. All activities conducted by the organization should link back directly or indirectly to value for itself, its customers, and other stakeholders. While we have seen two factors of value, the quality and the cost, we have another one which is speed. Things need to operate at speed. It's fine if you are delivering quality, but what if you're delivering it a day late? Value has a different meaning for every stakeholders. For some stakeholders, it could mean less number of errors. For some, it could mean higher revenues. For others, it could mean faster processing or reduced cost or better quality. There are so many examples of value possible, but these are highlighting some of the key elements of value. The key benefits of agile project management are increased flexibility, such as changing requirements, changing scope, increased productivity because of high focus, higher quality deliverables because of frequent testing and test automation, and so on. A decreased risk of missed objectives because the focus is on delivering smaller increments of products rather than a large end resulting product. And last but not the least, increased stakeholder engagement and satisfaction. The frequent delivery of high quality product increments results in the customer or the user being allowed to provide feedback. The term agile opens up a box full of different frameworks, techniques, concepts, behaviors, and so on. Some of them are highlighted here, such as adaptive software development or ASD, Kanban, crystal methods, Agile Unified Process or AUP, DSDM, which is Dynamic System Development Model or Method, crystal clear methods, Scrum, and we are going to focus on Scrum in particular as part of PeopleCert Scrum Master I certification training. Extreme Programming or XP, Disciplined Agile Delivery or DAD, Feature Driven Development, FDD, Scrum Bon, mixture of Scrum and Kanban, Rapid Application Development, RAD. We also have other frameworks such as SAFE, Scaled Agile Framework for the Enterprise. We already have looked at four key success factors in Agile project management. Let us look at some more factors which have led to the success of Agile project management. Co-location of all team members. Agile teams are generally small. Developer versatility, meaning each developer has their own specialized skill, but they also cover some secondary skills. And together, the team has all the skills required to do their job and to deliver a product. Automated testing, transitional support, being able to hand over a product, increment or the end product also. Enforce definition of done, what it means to complete before something can be handed over to a customer. A clear definition of done is therefore established before work begins. Clear product vision and roadmap. A roadmap is a path leading to achieving the vision. Product owner empowerment. We're going to look at the role of the product owner as well. Apart from those key factors leading to the success of Agile project management, you will see some more on this cite here, such as dedicated team members, Scrum Master Cloud, and management support for learning. Please go through these for additional learning. Let us now look at predictive development as compared to adaptive development. Predictive development models, also known as traditional, sequential, linear, or most famously the waterfall model or approach, are less flexible because they take an entire deliverable through large phases of requirements gathering, design, followed by development, and then followed by integration, testing, and deployment or the launch. Therefore, progress flows steadily downwards through the linear phases, beginning with the requirements and until the deployment phase. And due to this, the development is phase-based and sequential with the assumption that all of the correct information has been made available from the very start, such as the requirements clarity in the very beginning. The batches of work are large and the cost of delay is rarely considered. Imagine it may take a lot of time to deliver a large batch of work, and it may keep customer waiting, and during the wait time, things may change in the business. The primary means of achieving a good result is considered to be conformance to the plan. There could be risks in sticking to one original plan while things are dynamically changing within the business environment. Therefore, we also have iterative and incremental development. Iterative is a development approach to managing projects that focuses on intentionally allowing for the potential revisiting of work for rework, changes, and improvement, which means the product evolves over a period of time. There is some exploration and there is some improvement to the product as time moves forward. It doesn't mean that the product can be used in a pure iterative model. It is just that the product keeps evolving for a certain amount of time until the end product is realized and delivered. Incremental, on the other hand, is a style of development where each successive version of the product is usable. Note that the key word here is usable. And each version builds upon the previous version by adding user visible functionality. For example, you could have a website with limited features in the first increment. The second increment could add some more web pages to the website or add some more features to that website. On the other hand, a purely iterative model would be trying to build a website and then trying to improve it or evolve it while not delivering anything at all until maybe for a few months. Therefore, it may be better to combine iterative and incremental so that there is usable product delivered at intervals as well as evolution of the product through improvements and learning and feedback. And therefore we have adaptive development, which combines iteration and increment. A style of development that breaks a large deliverable into smaller, more management deliverables or more manageable deliverables and uses collaboration as the foundation for its success. When the needs of a project change, an adaptive team changes as well. Often the project is deployed at the end and all at once in a big bang deployment approach, whereas in adaptive development, which combines iteration and increment, the product is frequently delivered in the form of increments which are usable, and at the same time the product also evolves based on feedback and improvements and learning. And based on the needs of the product, if the requirements change and additional skills are required, then changes to the team are also made if appropriate and necessary. However, in general, team members are not changed during an agile product development. Based on the product vision and the roadmap, it is ensured that the team members remain the same throughout the project. Thus, in summary, adaptive development models are iterative and incremental in their approach to planning, developing, and delivering. These models use collaboration as a foundation to their success. These models are seen as circular and repetitive because they break a large deliverable into smaller, more manageable deliverables. And they also circulate the development through the repeated activity of requirements, design, development, integration, and testing. Deployment is a separate phase, though, after the iterative development. And in the iterative development, things such as requirements, design, development, integration, and testing are done with overlap or in parallel rather than in sequence. Please do refer to the URL specified in the footnotes on some of the slides, such as this one for the Agile glossary. You might remember that we had seen another link for a similar Agile glossary from the scrumalliance.org. Herein you will find explanation for terms such as increment and iteration. Another benefit of being agile is avoiding the handoff syndrome. Traditional development methods and organization structures follow formal waterfall processes that push and hand off work from one specialist team to another. If you look at this picture here, the work is always done by one group of people, and once it is finished, it is passed on to another group of people. So it is pushed from one group to another. So therefore, several handoffs happen until the final product is delivered. This can lead to waste of waiting or waste of over processing, waste of errors, etc. You will find some good recommendations on how to minimize handoffs in an agile way of working. For example, it's better to have discussions rather than documenting for a clearer understanding. So conversations are important while the work is going on between various team members, rather than trying to hand over from one team to another. Because all team members will need to collaborate and work together on all the tasks. And it's better if small tasks are handled rather than large tasks, because it is easier to transfer small tasks from one individual to another before moving forward. When planning for the workload for a specific time frame or a time box, the size of the work should be manageable, meaning it should be possible for the team to handle that amount of work and commit to it, rather than taking a large chunk of work and then taking its own time to deliver it, which may be way beyond the original deadline of the plan. This is an excellent picture which compares Agile with Waterfall. The major value difference in the two approaches is that the traditional side or the predictive development is mostly calculated, controlled, managed, and focused on the schedule. If you look at the upper portion of the chart here, we've got the starting on the left here and the release of the product at the end on the right here. And so it begins with the requirements definition, followed by design, followed by development, and then testing, and then deployment in a traditional waterfall predictive model. But if you look at the agile way of working at the bottom, you've got everything happening in each iteration or in each evolution. So you've got sprint one, wherein you have everything going on, such as if you see on the bottom left here, which shows the expanded picture here, you got the requirements, analyze, design, build, integrate, and demo of the product increment. So it continues in each iteration rather than waiting for requirements to be finalized, then moving to design, then development and testing and deployment. So which means that in case of the agile one, the risks are handled immediately for the smaller subset of requirements which will be fulfilled. And therefore, if the requirements keep changing, we are delivering them in frequent installments or frequent increments. So the risk accumulation is less in case of agile, whereas the risk accumulation is more in case of waterfall because of having to wait for a longer period of time by when the product would be delivered at a larger scale rather than at smaller increments. Also note that in each iteration or evolution or time box or a sprint, the highest priority features are selected for implementation based on what is priority for the customer and based on what can be possibly be delivered by the team in that limited time frame, such as a time frame of 2 weeks, which is most common. And as the project moves forward from one sprint to another or from one iteration to another, there is continuous inspection, meaning resulting in feedback and adaptation based on that inspection and feedback for that increment or the small product increment. Which means there are certain disadvantages of the traditional waterfall development. Creativity is inhibited because having to stick to one plan. Written documents have their own limitations, whereas in Agile, conversations have more meaning. There is continuous collaboration and conversation to obtain more and more clarity as the project or initiative moves forward. Bad timing, in particular, it may lead to delay of deliverables in a traditional project. No crystal balls, meaning estimates are done based on theory, assumptions, and hypotheses, whereas in Agile it is done based on practical experience. This is just an example. So it's not about fortune telling, but about practical experience and applying the learnings before moving forward. The key concept of inspect and adapt. Traditional projects have too much work and no fun, yes, and therefore may lead to sub-optimized results. And as Jeff Sutherland, one of the pioneers of Scrum and one of the key members of the Agile Manifesto, says it has just one great weakness in the traditional way of working, and that is humans are involved. Please note that Jeff Sutherland's Scrum Handbook is not required to be officially studied for the exam. This particular book is referenced as only for Scrum Master II exam and not for Scrum Master I. Let us now understand the concept of predictive and chaotic environments and which approach such as Waterfal or Agile are relevant in, in these differing environments. We see here on the x-axis the requirements which may be fully known or may be fully unknown, and somewhere in the middle there could be lack of clarity on the requirements, meaning some requirements may be known but some are not so clearly known. On the other hand, on the y-axis we see the technology element, which means the technology is clearly known, used well by people before within the organization. On the other hand, we have technology which is emerging and unknown and never used before, or you could be in a middle situation where technology is somewhat known but not completely explored and known. And therefore, when the requirements are very clear and the technology is well understood and used properly and experienced, then it is a predictable environment. And on the other hand, if the requirements are unknown and the technology also is emerging and unknown, then it is an chaotic environment. And that tells us that traditional development models are best suited to predictive projects and products where the requirements and scope are fixed and the product itself is firm and stable and the technology is clearly understood, which means traditional development models are well suited to situations where contracts are involved and are of a fixed price and scope, meaning they are predictable environments. Adaptive models, on the other hand, meaning adaptive development models are best suited to chaotic projects and products where requirements and scope will evolve over time and or the product itself will evolve over time and or the technology also will evolve over time. So this chart here provides a basic tool for finding the right approach and mix of development practices. The decisions are based on an assessment of the predictability of the requirement and the complexity of the technology. The predictability zone is best suited to traditional development approaches, while the chaotic zone is best suited to adaptive development approaches. You will find more information on this, if you like, at the Scrum Reference Card website, which is this one. This is a really good site explaining how waterfall works, such as in this picture. It is sequential, starting from requirements analysis to design, to coding, integration, testing, and deployment. And on the other hand, how the iteration model works. There's a product vision at the left, and the product is delivered via several iterations, and each iteration goes through the phases of detailed requirements, design and analysis, implementation and developer testing, QA, acceptance testing, quality assurance that is, and deployment, and followed by evaluation of that deployment and prioritization for the next set of requirements to be deployed. Which means that this is not in sequence, it is cyclical, meaning all of them are done in parallel or with some overlap. Because if you again break it down into sequence, it is not really agile. It is again working in a waterfall method, but at more frequent intervals. But we would like to call it a true agile rather than a smaller versions of waterfall. There is a lot of information at this website, not just connected to the model we have just discussed, but a lot more about Scrum as well. Let us now practice a couple of sample questions before we finish this module. Question number 1 from the official PeopleCert Scrum Master I sample. Number 1. Which of the following best describes the waterfall methodology? A. Teams design and develop all features together and they cascade through the project life cycle. B. Teams let a little bit of the requirements cascade like a waterfall through development. C. All projects that include requirement specification, design, development, testing, and deployment. Option D. Projects that are developed and then waterfall into production. You might recollect that the waterfall methodology goes in sequence from requirements to design, then construction, then test, and then eventually release or deployment, which means all the requirements are done, understood clearly at the start. So let us try to find out where that is clearly depicted among the 4 options. Option A, teams design and develop all features together. So that's the clue there. All the features are developed together in one go. Therefore, the correct answer would be A indeed. And they cascade through the project lifecycle, meaning after requirements, they go to design, then construction, testing, and eventually release. And the release means all the features are given out together to the customer. Option B, teams let a little bit of the requirements cascade like a waterfall through development, would be incorrect because it says just a little bit, and waterfall doesn't take a little bit, it takes the entire list of requirements. Therefore, B would be incorrect. Option C, all projects that include requirement specification, design, development, testing, and development, it could fit into any methodology. It could be waterfall, it could be incremental, it could be iterative, it could be agile. Because all projects do include all of these, but it's the way these are done sequentially or with overlap which decides that the approach. Option D, projects that are developed and then waterfall into production. This is an ambiguous statement. It doesn't tell us clearly what it means. Therefore, D is incorrect. Let us now try another question. Question number 2. What is the main goal of Agile frameworks? Option A, to reduce the time to market and respond to changes in a quick manner. B, to work faster and get more done. C, to ensure project work is easier. D, to ensure that everything gets done during each iteration. The question is about the goal of Agile frameworks. Let's look carefully at the options. Option A, to reduce the time to market and to respond to changes in a quick manner. This is definitely Agile. So we'll put a tick on this one. But let's look at the other options as well to rule out any errors in our answer. Option B, to work faster and get more done. This could be done in any framework. Even in a waterfall way, you could work faster and get more done. So doing the work faster and getting more done doesn't really equate to reducing the time to market and responding to changes in a quick manner. Therefore, B is incorrect about Agile. Option C, to ensure project work is easier. Agile doesn't mean that the project work is easier. In fact, Agile takes more complex projects. Therefore, C is incorrect. Option D, to ensure that everything gets done during each iteration. In fact, in Agile, in each iteration, only some of the work gets done. Therefore, D is incorrect. And that brings us to the end of this module 1, which is about the Agile methodologies, or Agile project management, that is. We haven't really looked at anything on Scrum yet, but that is coming up in the next module. We'll take a brief look at what Scrum is in module number 2, and we expand our learning more deeper on the Scrum framework in module number 3.